We are joined by another top legal marketing mind.
Those are the things that you really want to nail.
What makes up a high-quality law firm website these days?
That's a tough question. I think what makes a really good website these days.
Everything except the law will begin after a brief word from Answering Legal. Visit answeringlegal.com to learn more about our virtual receptionist team.
We were not getting back to people quick enough.
Answering Legal allows us to professionally reach back immediately. The system works for a small organization. Pure efficiency. I can be in a deposition, I can be on a plane, and I can see that intake come in through the phone message. And so I can reach back to that client within minutes.
It really turns you into an available lawyer 24/7. It's just been a quantum leap for us.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Answering Legal's Everything Except the Law podcast. I am your host, Nick Worker. If this is your first time tuning in, this is the podcast where we share expert advice on all the parts of running a law firm that attorneys weren't exactly trained for back in law school. Today on the show, we are joined by another top legal marketing mind. Our guest is the owner of Everest Legal Marketing, an agency that specializes in attorney web design, SEO for law firms, and content marketing. In this episode, we'll be going in depth on all of those topics. Doug Bradley is here with me now. Welcome, Doug. It's so good to have you back.
Thanks so much, Nick. I appreciate being on. It's been a while since we talked.
Been a while, so I'm excited to hear what's been going on with you. But before we dive into our marketing discussion, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do with law firms?
Yeah, sure. So Everest Legal Marketing primarily does website design, content development, and search engine optimization for law firms. We work with pretty much law firms of any practice, from kind of the more typical firms like criminal defense, personal injury, family law, all the way into some of the lesser known practices that are just really kind of niche practice areas.
Interesting. So you communicate with a lot of lawyers and you hear about a lot of their biggest marketing struggles.
Yeah.
What would you say are law firms struggling with most these days as it pertains to marketing?
I think it still kind of goes back to the age-old problem of separating the truth from what's BS. Lawyers, like it or not, are kind of a target for marketers because they tend to have bigger budgets than many other average businesses. And SEO, for as much public data as there is out there, still seems to be clouded with a little bit of mystery, kind of the X factor. And sometimes it's tough, in my experience, what my clients, talk to me about. It's tough for them to separate what's true, what's false, and also what matters and, kind of what doesn't matter, and who's a reputable vendor, who's, kind of a shyster. And because anybody who designs websites can typically say, "Oh yeah, we do SEO as well. We can take that on for you." But if they're in a major market, have they done that before?
I see that all the time where I'll get an ad that's like web design, SEO friendly web design. And it's like, yeah, sure. The design itself might be friendly, but do you really understand what the SEO behind that actually?
Yeah, or SEO built in.
Yeah, SEO built in is crazy. That's wild. So in your purview, what are some updates that you've been encouraging law firms to make to their marketing strategies in 2024?
So a couple of them. The first one is with video. I think video is really more important than it's ever been in the past. Even though I do search engine optimization, I went to college. I double majored in business and in broadcasting, so I know the value of video. And I think it's just gotten exponentially more important these days. Everybody likes to consume video, and all the data supports that. The other thing is that the data supports that people like shorter format videos. They like to watch shorts. They like to watch TikTok. People have the attention span of a goldfish, quite literally scientifically proven these days. Is people have we're talking about a 5-second attention span to try and hook them into something interesting. And so we kind of have to market to that. The other thing is that what I've noticed over the last few months as Google has changed a bit is the way that content reads on a page. Going into some of the things that we've discovered about Google Nav Boost and the way that Google looks at behavior of the user on a page, that's can help you craft a better page that is ranks better and also performs better. So those are the things I think really that we're encouraging clients to look at.
So I want to ask you about this because I think this is really interesting, and this is something that I'm dealing with internally as well. Is you earlier this year released a blog post about Google search being broken.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how you're currently feeling about the state of Google search and discuss some of the problems that recent Google updates have created for the legal community?
Yeah, it's a big conversation, and I think it's best addressed if you are in legal marketing. You just go to Google and do a search for a lawyer locally and see how crowded the space is with things that are self-serving to Google. Usually it's hidden in the people also ask type of sections where you click on it and it gives you more of a result and it prompts you to click again, which then delivers a new search result. And AI overviews. I think just the real estate on a search engine's results page has just become incredibly crowded for Google, and that I think is just as an SEO person, it's kind of the most frustrating thing because you might be ranking, number one, number two, number three for a really competitive search phrase, but there's just all of this noise coming in from Google, these added features or these pay-per-click ads that are just so incredibly invasive now. Whereas before, I think if we look back 3, 4, 5 years back, everybody accepted, ads. That's the way that this platform operates. And now it's just, there is an ad in every single pixel of every scroll, it seems, on Google. And I think that's the most frustrating thing that I've seen that's come out. And in my opinion, it still continues to be broken in a lot of ways. I think they've repaired some things, but some of these things that come out on search results pages, they just don't make much sense. That you might get a search result and what they're recommending that you read has absolutely nothing to do with the query that you've typed in. And why would you want me to read that? Why would you think if I'm looking for a lawyer that I want to know what it takes to be a lawyer? Like that, something like that. I don't care what it takes to be a lawyer. I want to find a lawyer. And those are the types of things that I think are frustrating users. And it's a perilous time to frustrate users in search because there's more AI search options than there were just a year ago.
So I'm from the era where the ads still weren't native in Google. There was still like a big yellow box that said ad, and a lot of people didn't want to click on it because it said ad, and people were looking through the organic results. And that, to me, is a huge thing that has changed. So I candidly, I spent a lot of time doing SEO, but I also spent a lot of time in Google Ads. And it's funny how the way that the page is displayed has changed.
Oh yeah.
It's no longer separated by anything. So it's all native. Like all of the ads are native, all of the organic results are native, but you can't really tell the difference anymore between something that's organic that has earned a spot there and the ad there. So what are some of the things that you recommend, like as somebody who does SEO, how do you combat the fact that like so much of that stuff is native on the page?
Yeah, I mean that's a tough question. Honestly, I think the real estate we have it as one result on a search result page, it's so small that we have to make sure that we tighten up title tags. And even that's kind of a 50-50 solution because Google chooses the title tags to display based off of the search query that's being done. So sometimes your preferred title tag may not even be the one that's shown. And then, of course, the description, trying to figure out a combination of kind of interesting stuff to put into that to get users to pay attention to your listing on Google.
I think another interesting thing that lawyers don't know a lot about, and to me, this is kind of a funny one, because if you're a layman and you look at a website, you can say, this website looks beautiful, it's fast, it's clean designed, but there's a lot that goes into the infrastructure and the planning and the internal linking and the user
Absolutely.
flow and behavior of a website. So there's obviously always changing, ways that people interact with sites.
Yeah.
But what makes up a high quality law firm website these days?
As you kind of mentioned, it's one of those things where aesthetics are and what a website looks like. That's something everybody can have an opinion about. Some people will look at a really crowded page and say, oh wow, this has got a lot of information, where another person will look at it and say, oh wow, it's overwhelming, it's too confusing, and it's the same website shown to two different people. I think what makes a really good website these days in today's world, and this is a little bit of a pivot from even just a year or two ago, is something that communicates what you do, who you are, what you've accomplished, what other people say about you quickly. And I'm talking within the first interaction on the landing page. If you're a personal injury lawyer and you have a car accident page, I think those things need to be communicated, if not at the very top of the page, within one scroll going down. I think going back to attention spans, trying to engage people, they need to know exactly those pieces of information as quickly as possible. The other thing is, again, kind of personal injury lawyer, criminal defense lawyer, any type of lawyer. What is it that people say about you? Do you have testimonials on your page? What does your attorney profile look like? Is it just a CV, or is it an actual narrative of your accomplishments and what you do and what you're passionate about? Those things, I think, they certainly perform far better than just informational law firm websites these days.
So in the same breath, I was just in a car accident. I'm looking for a personal injury lawyer, and I come to a personal injury law website.
Yeah.
What am I mostly caring about when I visit that law firm website? What am I looking for, and what's going to make me go with that law firm based on that website?
Yeah, so I would go back to data on this one. Most lawyers would say, well, I want to show people my awards. I want to show, that, I'm a this, particular award, and that I've earned this, or that I'm an ABOTA attorney, or, all of these things. And they want to showcase those things. But what it comes down to in the data, what I see coming off of 100+ law firm websites, is that people have a very typical interaction with a law firm website. They land on a page. They typically look at least one attorney profile. They typically look at the testimonials or the reviews of the law firm. They typically look at a case results or a results page of some sort. And that's typically the end of the journey if they don't make it to the contact page. So those are the things, if you're talking about what consumers care about, which may be different than what the lawyer might care about. Those are the things really that you really want to nail really, really well on a website, is your landing page, your practice pages, your attorney profile, your testimonials, and your results pages.
This is kind of funny that you don't care that much what the lawyer actually wants the website to say, because you care what the consumer wants to see when they visit the website. But I have a separate question, is what does Google seem to care most about these days when like crawling a firm's website? What's going to make the crawlability of that site rank it higher than, competitors?
Yeah, I think they're definitely looking for quality indicators. They're looking for authority, which still is measured mostly by what good backlinks you have pointing to your website. Are they from authoritative, credible sources, relevant to the legal industry, or at least adjacent to the topic of the page they're linking to? They want to know that what they're delivering on page one of Google, that the user will have a really good experience with that page. And so if we kind of market to that, we know what the user is expecting. Google knows what the user is expecting, because they're looking at billions of pages of analytics, that are coming off of websites. So the things that they're looking for are the things we want to market to. Being able to deliver information very quickly, and the critical pieces of information, who you are, what you do, what you've accomplished, what other people say about you, those types of things. Google genuinely is looking for those. They're also looking, those awards, I'm not dismissing them and saying that they shouldn't be on the page, but they may not be best served at the very top of the page, because again, we're trying to capture people's attention within a scroll. And doing that, the best things, and from what I'm seeing come from our clients' websites, are answering those handful of questions first. And then maybe a bit further down the page, giving some more information about the firm's history, what awards they've, gotten, looking at expertise, authority, experience, trustworthiness, all of those things that fall into the EEAT bucket. We want to build those into a page, but if the user doesn't get down the page, they only stop at the top, because a lot do only stop at the top. We want to get that main information out first, and that's what Google wants to see.
So I come from the world of content marketing, and 10 years ago, when I first got my toes wet into content marketing, everybody was trying to get their blog posts to rank number one for like specific topics. And I can't even, like, long tail keywords, right?
Yeah,
so we're talking personal injury, right? We're talking personal injury lawyer in Memphis, Tennessee, who handles slip and fall cases in my Chase Bank local to me, right?
Yeah.
That whole spiel. People, content marketers, would try to take that entire phrase, fit that into a blog post, and then really like turn it out.
Yeah.
And I just don't know that it works that way anymore. And I want to ask you about blogging in 2024. So how important is it for law firms to still be blogging? If it is important, how can they go about elevating their blogs and making them more engaging? And what is the point of blogging in 2024?
Well, I think, Nick, you could probably have myself or someone else on that could probably do a whole podcast about blogging for law firms in general, just because it's that's a big topic. I definitely think that blogs are still important. I think maybe what has changed is making sure if you're writing content in today's world, it would be very easy to go to ChatGPT and just have it churn out some information about a given topic. And if you read it, you can look at it and say, this is pretty acceptable. But we're actually still, a firm that really only relies on human writers. Almost all of our writers are JDs. And if they're not a JD, they only write for law firms. And so they're really, really excellent at writing legal content. And search engines still extract information from those articles. And if you want to be cited in any type of an AI platform, I think it's still going to come from content that you have on your website, whether it be a blog, whether it be a practice page, whether it be a resource or something of that sort. But blogs give you that capability to write about something that might be the top of a funnel search, that might lead someone to learn about who you are. Whereas a practice page is really more of a bottom of the funnel search, where that person's already looking for a lawyer. And the top of the funnel search is, I think, where we find it still important to have articles, not necessarily a huge number of articles, but articles that are really well written, really directed at, what is it, the information we want to convey, and how does the firm fit into this information? What expertise does the firm bring to this particular topic? I think those are the things that might be a little different, rather than just having the most informative blog and all the variations of the ways to say different phrases and different synonyms and things like that. I think that's kind of past. But yeah, I think writing a more intelligent article that has more personal information about it is still important today.
So this is kind of, I can see where this is going, because you don't write any content and you have staff writers who are JDs or who only write for legal content. But I do want to ask you, should attorneys at all be leaning on AI to technology to help them create new content?
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. I think it's a good way to prompt a subject to be written. It might even give you a good, give me the main topics I should cover in an article about the statute of limitations, and then it will write a really brief outline for you. I think those ways are smart ways to implement AI into your content. But it's already happened on more than one occasion where I've started to talk to a potential new client, and I look at their articles, and they have articles written every day for the last several months. And I look at them and I read them, and they're not ranking for anything. And then I go and look at the articles, and you can tell just based off of the language that it was just a prompt that was popped into some sort of an LLM model, and just exported, published, pop in a picture that's relevant, and then we'll just cross our fingers. And I think, unfortunately, our industry, has gotten the reputation of more is better, more content is better, more backlinks is better. And I don't think that world works any longer for search engine optimization.
That's very interesting that you bring that up. So as it pertains to backlinks,
yeah,
I want to get into
that's a crazy conversation these days.
So I'll go back to my personal experience. I'll speak for myself. When I was first getting started, everyone told me that I wouldn't get anything to rank without backlinks. And I am a big proponent of, if you write the right content and you set up your site architecture and your site link structure in such a way that you don't necessarily need to beat your competitors' backlinks in order to rank higher in SEO. But and you kind of just alluded to this, that like more backlinks is not necessarily better, but what's like because you're the expert here, what's the go-to backlink strategy these days? What are we doing for backlinks?
So that's another one that could be a topic of its own podcast. But I think, and this is an evolving conversation as well, and I'm going to give a shout out to somebody here in a second that gave me shared some information recently that was pretty interesting. But internally, we definitely want our clients to be on platforms that people go to. So we want them to have a profile on Yelp, obviously. And there's going to be a backlink from Yelp. And I think that's a quality indicator to Google that, hey, this is an indication that this is a business. Yelp is also an aggregation website, so it transmits all of its data to Apple Maps, for example, and other websites. So things of that sort, I think, are really important. I also think quality legal directories. Legal directories are a great way to showcase who you are and what you do. And if you can establish a profile on, for example, Justia is, I think, one of the best possible legal directories there is nowadays. Not only is it everywhere on search engines, but you can establish a free profile on Justia if you're an attorney. So those types of what I would call a foundational law firm link, those are things that we're definitely encouraging and definitely building for our clients. Then, we have a database of what those are. But then there's also partnering with websites where you can share your expertise on their website that might offer a link back to you, or maybe not even a link back to you. I think those opportunities are really valid. But the world of, I think one thing that got a bit abused quite a bit was like NAP consistency, especially when we're talking about like citation links for businesses. You always have to have consistent name, address, phone number, and preferably a website link, and they have to line up perfectly. Well, shout out to Darren Shaw of White Spark. He just released some information either today or yesterday, maybe, that's basically kind of alludes to, that consistency isn't anywhere near as important as we think it is or once thought it was, at least in today's world. Google's models know enough about businesses that the consistency of the links that point to you and the directories that you're on and things of that sort, they just don't matter as much as they used to. So being selective is more important than being inclusive when it comes to links. We want to have the right links and we want to have the right profile set up, but we don't want a profile built on every platform you can possibly think of.
I don't know if
SoundCloud is not a great profile for a lawyer.
Yeah. So I don't know if all of the listeners know what WhiteSpark is, but WhiteSpark used to be one of those listing aggregators.
Oh, yeah.
And it's huge for Darren to basically come out and say that the consistency between all of these things is no longer that important, because I mean, that guy makes a living aggregating listings for businesses.
Yeah. And I don't want to say, citations and those types of informational links aren't important and that it's not important. I'm not dismissing it completely, but I just mentioned that to kind of showcase that these things are changing in real time.
Mm-hmm. So I want to ask you, what's one lesser discussed marketing strategy that you're a huge advocate of?
Personal networking. I love networking. I think it's easy to talk about all the AI tools available, all the platforms you could use for marketing, PPC strategies, SEO strategies. All of those things are great things to talk about. But usually I'm always loving marketing when it comes to personal networking, whether it be at a conference or what have you. Recently, I was able to go to lunch with 2 clients who don't compete with each other, but they could refer clients to each other. And they're both of the same age range. They're both, fairly aggressive marketers. And it's just a natural fit for one to recommend, build a relationship and refer to the other. And the result of that lunch is kind of yet to be seen, but that type of networking, I mean, getting referrals from sources that you can refer back to, I mean, that's invaluable to me. I think that type of thing is something you can always lean on, as you can do a good job at that and you'll get those referrals.
So speaking of networking, if our attorney viewers want to connect with you further, where should they go?
EverestLegalMarketing.com. That's the place where you can find all of my information. I tend to be a little bit more active on Twitter, or X as known these days. You can find a link to my Twitter feed on our website. And if you go to our website, you can also do a kind of a local visibility website audit for free on our website.
That is awesome. Well, Doug, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. And thank you to all of our listeners. We hope you enjoyed this conversation, and we will be back with another episode of Everything Except the Law soon. Be sure to check out previous episodes of our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the Answering Legal YouTube channel. Links to everything covered in today's conversation can be found in the description of this episode below. See you next time, everyone.